Generally accepted accounting principles prescribe that a fund, money from a source that can only be used for one purpose, must be accounted for separately from money from a source that can be used for multiple purposes. At this point, we have money from the fuel tax distributions that can only be used for roads, and we have money from Title I payments that can be used for either roads or sheriff's patrols. So up until 2012, this was not an issue because money from both sources was exclusively dedicated to roads. But when HB 4175 passed in 2012 and gave us the option to use the Title I payments for sheriff's patrols, at that point, it would have been compliant with generally accepted accounting principles to establish a new general ledger account to track the Title I payments. Now, that was not done, and because that wasn't done, last year, when the question came up of how much money is actually available from the Title I payments we've received in the past to be used for sheriff's patrols, there was no way to determine the answer from the books because those funds had been commingled. Now, we knew how much money had come in the Title I payments, but we did not know how much had been spent because the funds were commingled with the fuel tax distribution funds. So at that point, the only thing we could say for certain was that the money that had been received in Title I payments in the prior year was still available, and that was $500,000. Since that point, we received another $1 million in Title I payments, and as Mr. O'Hare pointed out at our last meeting, those funds are still available because the balance in the Roads and Bridges Reserve Fund is over $1 million more than it was last year, so those funds have not been spent. I believe at our last meeting, Mr. Welch asked if there was any need to establish this fund now rather than waiting a year. And the reason for doing it now is that right now we do have a baseline figure. We know that there are $1.5 million of Title I payments that exist in our budget. And if we wait another year and those funds continue to be commingled, and should the balance, the combined balance in roads and bridges and public works decrease as it's projected to, then at that point in a year, we will again be in the position of having no way of knowing how much money is still available from the Title I payments that could potentially be allocated to sheriff's patrols because the funds are commingled and we won't know how much of that money has been spent. So at this point, we do actually have a baseline with which to establish that fund and bring ourselves into compliance with generally accepted accounting principles. And I would like to reiterate that establishing this separate general ledger account, it's a simple bookkeeping procedure. It does not allocate any money away from public works. It does not allocate any money to the sheriff's department. It simply creates an account in which we can track the balance of Title I payments so that we know from year to year how much of that money actually is available, which gives the option for the commissioners, if the commissioners should decide to exercise that option in future years to use some of that money for sheriff's patrols, then we'll know how much money is available. If we don't do this, we again have no way of knowing.